Hey, Steve Gamache with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. And what we're looking at in this episode is the Harukaze VG-10 Tsuchime Santoku 185mm knife. So the way this line is made is it's a multi-layer construction, and in the hard core cutting edge steel in the center of the blade is VG-10 full stainless steel. Heat treats around 60 Rockwell on that core steel. And what they've done is put multi-layered stainless cladding on either side of that hardcore steel, and then put a kind of a dimpled, or what's called a hammered Tsuchime, or kind of a pebble finish on it. And then they've got the layers showing with a little bit of etching there, and basically the grind down towards the edge, and you'll see those layers show up. So it's a really attractive knife, all stainless, easy maintenance. The weight and construction on these will be probably fairly similar from knife to knife, but this particular one is 178 grams or 6.3 ounces. The edge length is right about 185 from the tip all the way to the back of the heel. This is known as the chin right here. And the overall length is about 12 inches, right on the money. The spine thickness, this is a thin blade, although it's relatively stiff for the thinness of it. I got about 1.8, 1.85 millimeters. And it's a little hard to tell sometimes because you got these dimples right up to the edge. But anyway, around that, all the way down. And there's not a lot of taper here of the thickness called distal taper. It just pretty much stays that same thickness until you hit the grind. It's very easy to see where it starts to get thinned down or ground down towards the edge. And then it does thin out pretty nicely at the tip. So the tip works quite well. This is a good performing knife. And here's the back shot. This back part of the knife is called the choil. And you can see it gets fairly thin at the edge as well. The blade height on this is about 45 millimeters on the money. And then again, that'll vary a little bit from knife to knife. Handles are kind of a rosewood, kind of almost looks like a walnut, but it's a have a nicely finished handle. This particular one's a little more on the brownish side of things, but you've got stainless steel rivets. You've got a full stainless tang that runs all the way through the handle, and then you've got what's called a pinned kind of bolster on it. And the fit and finish is done pretty well on this. The spine hasn't been relieved too much at the corners, but just enough so it's not uncomfortable. And the choil also has a little bit of sanding done to that, so it's not, objectionable, although it probably could be smoothed out just a little bit more. And again, every knife might be a little different. Let's get our beauty shot for this for the video cover. Get our lighting right here. That looks pretty good. So this has a very interesting finish. Again, it's all stainless. What we have on the cladding is a hammered finish here on this side, on the right side of the blade as you'd be holding it. And there's some kanji there, and that kanji is laser engraved, so it's not hand engraved, but it's laser engraved. And on the left side of the blade, you've got kind of the same thing, but with no kanji or symbols on it. You can see the layers of the cladding as this gets ground down towards the edge, and then there's your cladding giving way to the core steel, that higher polish on it. And you can see this has a fair amount of polish to it. It's a really interesting looking blade. Again, fairly stiff. The balance point is going to be back a little further because that handle is a full tang handle. And it's not a particularly big or long blade, but there's your balance point right about where that choil is. I would say out of the box edge, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It's pretty sharp, but I guess the fineness of how the edge was ground, it's fairly coarse in terms of grit used on it, so it's not super polished edge, so you can definitely get this sharper. Let's take a look at the cutting board profile. So here we go. And this has a pretty user-friendly, just kind of general purpose profile. It's got kind of the typical sheep's foot tip on it, so it's not going to rock real high, but it does have a little belly towards the tip, and I can get in there before the tip wants to start digging in. So this will handle, medium-sized stuff, not too, definitely smaller size stuff, no problem. It does have a smooth arc in the rock down towards the rear, and then the rear has kind of, I wouldn't say any kind of real total flat, but it kind of gets this a little bit less belly in it, a little more shallow belly towards the back part. It does kind of rock towards the back. So you could do a little bit of chopping at the back, maybe a third of this blade, and definitely some nice rocking. Push-pull cutting, glide cuts would be good. Tip draws would be good on this. So, it's a pretty versatile profile, and I think makes very good use of that 185 millimeters. So, it's just a nice knife. The performance is good. It's nice looking. It's easy to take care of, and it's good value. So, this is the Harukaze VG-10 Tsuchime Santoku 185 millimeter knife.